So Boker Tov, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for what is sure to be a fascinating discussion. I'm Trina Fuller, the president of the Women of Temple Beth Emeth. And also joining me today is Cantor Hayut. She's going to be assisting me a little bit. Our aim today with this virtual tour is to gain a deeper understanding of a sacred object, the tallit, and strengthen our connections to Am Israel, the people of Israel. So we have set aside time for questions near the end of the program, and you can put them in the chat and we'll be able to, try to get to as many as we can as time allows. And as a reminder, we're going to be recording today and everyone should stay muted throughout the program. So with us today from Gabrieli Hand Weaving in Israel is our special guest, Ori Gabrieli. Ori is joining us from his beautiful gallery located in downtown Jerusalem. And also throughout the program, we'll have the opportunity to meet his brother-in-law, Ayal, who will join us from their weaving studio in Rehovot. So Erev Tov, Ori. Welcome to Temple Beth Emeth and our Ann Arbor community. It is our honor to have you here with us.
Good evening, everybody. It's our honor to be with you, and thank you, everybody, for joining us and visit us in our store in Jerusalem, in our handwoven studio in Rehovot. Shalom, everyone.
Well, let's jump right in. Thanks a lot, Ori. Let's jump in and get started. And I want to talk about the beginning of your company. I was thrilled to learn that Gabrieli was founded by a woman. So can you tell us a little bit about Malka Gabrieli and the history of your weaving?
Absolutely. So we started our handwoven business in 1964 by my late aunt, Malka Gabrieli. Malka studied art in the weaving and art in the High Academy for Art in Jerusalem, Betzalel. When Malka graduated in the early 60s, the Israeli government wanted to encourage young artists to help and make the old city of Jaffa an artist colony. So they gave small studio in good prices for young artists. And Malka got a small room, small studio in the old city of Jaffa. And she had one loom, which my grandfather built her, one wooden loom, kind of the same as the loom you see in the picture of our weaver weaving in the studio. Malka sit in her small studio in Jaffa and wove fabric. She had no plan to weave a tallit, just like beautiful fabrics to make different textile out of it. And then one day, an American guy, his name was Rabbi Khan from New York, came and visit her studio while he was visiting old Jaffa. And Malka was busy weaving a purple piece of fabric. This gentleman came in and asked her if she can make this beautiful purple fabric a tallit for him. And she said, I don't know, I can try. And then she went to learn what it takes to make a piece of fabric a preshal, a tallit. She made him the tallit and sent it to him to the States. Back then, when you sent something to the States, it took a long time to arrive. But after a few months, people from the States started to come to the old city of Jaffa and look for Malka the weaver. And this is how our studio was started in 64. Since then, we grew up, and now we have 13 wooden looms, which all of them was built by my grandfather, all like hand-built, big wooden looms. And now we make tallitot and we supply all over the world.
Oh, that is fascinating. I noticed that the art academy that Malka attended was Betzalel, And we should all remember that Bezalel was the chief artisan of building the Ark of the Covenant. So that's a nice connection to know. So let's see some tallitot. Can you show us some different styles and explain the different features of them?
Absolutely. I suggest I start by giving you a quick tour in my store in Jerusalem. So let me flip out the camera. And before I showing you the inside of the store, I'm just gonna give you a quick taste of the street of Jerusalem today. You see? We are in Yoel Salomon Street. This is a beautiful, beautiful walk street in Jerusalem. I'm sure many of you visited here. And this is our beautiful gallery. So welcome in, everybody. And beside our tallitot, which we're going to focus in today, we have a lot of beautiful, beautiful art and Judaica that we make, and also other very, very fine Israeli artists. But today, our session is about tallit, okay? So what you see here is just a very small selection of our tallit collection. We weave out of different material. We weave out of silk, wool, or cotton. Each one of the material that we weave from can come in many, many different colors and design. Basically, since it's all hand woven, each one it's one of a kind. Even if we want, we can't make two exactly the same. Of course, we have repeated models, but each one it's a piece of art and it's one of a kind. I will explain you about what is a tallit, about the different options and the different sizes and everything. But before I do that, I suggest all of you gonna pay attention to the other screen of the studio, and we're gonna explain you shortly how we actually weave a tallit. So in hand weaving, we have sheti and erev. Sheti is the base, and erev it's what's coming into the base. You see now Eyal showing you this conus that he's touching now. It's the sheti. This is many different strands that attach to the loom, and when we make the fabric, when we weave, we actually put the erev inside, and the erev come in the loom what we call a boat. Eyal, you see, this is a boat, okay? And this boat moving from side to side in the weaving process, like you can see right now. And the weaver using the pedal, it's like a very physical work. She's using all her body, 2 legs and 2 arms, in order to move the boat from side to side and create the fabric. The different design get created while she playing different skills, different movement with her feet. As you can see, she have bunch of pedals, and each time when she set up the pedals in a different way, she can decide what kind of design she's going to create in the fabric. Before the sheti get on top of the loom, we need to make it. So Eyal will show you like a very big machine. Eyal, if you go to the מכונת השתיה, you see this huge machine. It's the machine that take thousands of different strengths and make it together on a piece of wooden conus, like this. And after this, it's become, you see, like this is a ready-made sheti, and then we put it on top of the loom, and then it takes a few days to tie in a very specific way all the strands into the loom, so it will be ready to start and get woven. We have different color, basically two different color of sheti. We have a light sheti, which is white, like you see here. And we also have a black sheti, like you see here. Now, the idea now, if you're gonna get back to my screen, I'm gonna show you something really interesting. If you guys gonna take a look on this color blue and on this color blue, they look really different, but basically we are talking about the same blue. What happened? Here the blue getting woven into the black base, so it's become very, very dark blue. And here the blue getting woven into a white sheti, and this is create like a latter blue. If you take a close look, you will see it's a blue with many, many points of white. And here, if you take a close look, you see it's blue with many, many points of black, because it's like when you mix two colors together. So you get this. You see this purple? This purple, it's basically the exact same purple as this purple. Here it's very, very dark, and here it's very, very light. So this is just like something interesting about the weaving. Now, as you can see, after we weave the material, we need to create and make the tallit out of the material. Each tallit, it's a square piece of fabric that have 4 corners, have atara. It can be atara like this, plain, or it can be with the blessing, okay? And it have 4 kosher tzitzit. The tzitzit of the tallit, we are not tying ourselves. We send it to yeshiva bucher, that this is their profession, to tie a tzitzit. And there is many, many different variations. Some tallitot have double corners, some have 1 corners, okay? You have thick tzitzit, you have standard tzitzit. Also, you have ptil tchelet, like Eyal showing you in the other picture. It's like the which one thread out of all the tzitzit, it's in a color of blue. It's called ptil tchelet. I will be happy to answer any questions so far if you have.
Yes, we have questions. So can you just spread out some tallit and show us really the landscape of it?
Absolutely.
What it looks like?
Absolutely. While I'm gonna do this, okay, I'm gonna also show you the difference between the size of a tallit.
Thank you.
Because there is 2 major size for a tallit. There is the full size, okay, which is the one you flip over, okay, and there is the narrow size, which is the one you wear around the neck. I'm gonna show you both. I'm gonna pull one tallit out, okay. Now I'm gonna show you a full size tallit. You see, this is the tallit, and this is how you wear a full size tallit. I'm gonna show you from the back so you guys can see the right way to wear it. This is how we wear a full size tallit. This is the more traditional way to wear a tallit.
I'm gonna just take a second, hold on a second. I just wanna just have you spotlighted so everyone could see you a little bit better, Ori.
Okay.
It's
There
we go. Okay, great.
Okay, so I was showing you guys like a full size tallit. This is the tallit, which is kind of a square. It's the one you wear and flip it over on your shoulder. So it's laid down like this. The other common size for a tallit is the narrow size. By the way, in size, just to get an idea, the one that I'm wearing right now, it is 50 by 80. So it's 50 width, which means from neck and down, and 80 long from hand to hand. And I'm going to show you now also a small size tallit, which is like called the scarf size. The scarf size tallit, it's the one You see, it's like this. And it's the one we wear around the neck. We wear like this. So we actually are not, we're not flipping it over like the other one, you see? I'm gonna put now one tallit on the table and I'm gonna focus on it, okay? To show you the different parts of the tallit. So 1 second. Okay, so I put a tallit on the table and you see, a tallit have, like I said, an atara, which is the neck piece. The Atara can be with embroidery of the blessing, or it can be just like matching to the design. It's also perfectly kosher Atara, as long as it's a separate piece here. A tallit have corners, like this, and it have a tzitzit, 4 tzitzit in every corner. So the idea is that every piece of fabric that have 4 corners and kosher tzitzit, it's basically a tallit. Beside, like some restriction, like shatnez, for example, which is like a mixture of fabric which are not kosher. Otherwise, every piece of fabric that have 4 corners and kosher tzitzit can be a kosher tallit. Any questions so far, guys?
Yes, I'm sure. So can you explain a little bit more about the shatnez? I think
Eyal, you want to do that? Eyal? Eyal, you are on mute. You have to take off your mute. My brother-in-law is not like very, very technology.
Oh, he'll fit right in with me. That's fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Jill. Eyal?
Well, while he's unmuting, can you talk to us a little bit more about the blue strand? Oh,
Hi, hello. Hello, oh,
yes,
you hear me? Ah, okay, the shatnez, the only thing is that you not put linen and wool together. And we don't have a problem because we don't manufacture in linen. We do just silk, cotton, and wool. And shatnez is when you do linen and wool together.
By the way, I'm gonna add that we also in Israel, I don't know how it's in other places, but in Israel, in order to make a tallit, you see I'm showing right now, we have supervision of the main Rabbanut of Israel that check that the tallit is made in a kosher way, but like Eyal said, there is not too many restriction in making a tallit. Yes, what was your other question, Tarina?
My other question was to talk to us a little bit more about the significance of the tzitzit themselves. We have the tallit with the blue strand.
Yes.
And then you have normal strands and then a thick strand. Can you talk to us a little bit about the differences?
Absolutely. So first of all, the tzitzit, okay, it's tied in a way that the number of the knots, the small details, it's like the number of the mitzvot. See, it's tied in a very, very certain way. Now, Eyal showing you now the ptil. There is not big difference between this one or the thicker one that I'm showing you, just more fancy. But the ptil tchelet, there is a story behind it, okay? The ptil tchelet in the Bible, it said it said that the tallit should have a ptil tchelet. Now, the original ptil tchelet coming from a certain snail that that using this snail, they dye the part, one thread in tchelet. But for many years, they lost track of this snail. In the past, maybe 10 or 20 years, some people come up and find the way how to find this specific snail. And this is why lately the tchelet become more and more popular. And there is very few people in the world that actually able to find this specific snail and dye the tchelet with it. Ptil tchelet, it's the guy that provide us this specific ptil that I am showing you. It's the largest company in Israel that do grow these snails.
So the blue dye is extracted somehow from the snail.
Yes,
And
it's not
that
like
is
it's not just a blue color. It's a blue color from a very specific animal, like a snail.
Very interesting. And can you talk to us about tying the tzitzit? There are different ways of tying them, as I understand. And do you normally just do the one way, or do you do the different varieties?
So there is, like I told you before, we don't tie the tzitzit ourselves. We send it usually to yeshiva buchers. But when we have a demand, we do the standard way, like most of the people do. But when we have a demand for a specific tying, which means a specific tradition, because the tying of the tzitzit, it's according to different traditions, okay? And when we get asked to tie from a certain tradition, we have a special guy in the north of Israel that is professional on all the way of tying, and we send him the tallit to tie it in a very specific way that the customer asks for.
Okay, very interesting. So it has to travel to someone special for that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And who does the designing of the tallit? Okay, and how do you decide on design?
Okay, so basically, some of our most beautiful design born from request of our customer. Many people like to design their own tallit, and then someone choose like a different color and different layover on the tallit. And we work with him and we're trying to make what she or he had in mind. And this is how a design was born. And then if we see it's a successful design, we can play around with the color and create another design. Now, also like a funny story to tell you, my father is a color blind. And some of our most beautiful design was created because he made up a mistake from what people asked for him. So this is also a way that we come up with many designs. Now, when people ask us for specific design, we sit and weave. But for example, in times like this, that due to COVID, we don't have a lot of work. So our weavers play around and create design each day. A new design is born. Let me show you, for example, one of our recent line, we're doing this design. It's our premium design, which we combine different technique of weaving. You remember I told you before that to be able to control the design on the weaving, it's the work of the pedal on the loom. So here on this one, you can see you have different technique all together. You see this called the eye, okay? And this is flat, and this is raised, you see? Or here. Each one, you see here, when I focus like this, each one of the design, it's really uniquely made. And there is like a lot of, like for example, this one, the multicolor one. So this multicolor can come in 2,000 different options of colors, you know, any color of the base, any color of any of the stripes. And that goes for any of the other tallitot. There is really no limit to what we can do. Since we don't work on a mass production, we create one by one, we basically can make anything.
Those are beautiful. Thank you for sharing those. So
My pleasure.
can you tell me why we wear tallit and on what occasions we should wear tallit?
Okay, so basically, tallit is a prayer shawl. We wear it when we pray. Again, there is some halacha and some tradition, okay? For example, the tradition-wise, you know, the Orthodox Ashkenazi don't wear tallit on the bar mitzvah, only when they get married. But today, the way we see it, a tallit, it's something personalized that you pray to cover, to make yourself separate from what's around you, and to be able to focus and concentrate and to pray. Of course, there is occasion of wedding and bar mitzvah and simchas that specifically you use a tallit, but I use my tallit at home by myself when I pray in the morning. It's very individual.
Is there anything that you feel people should know about a tallit? Is there any special piece of history or information that most people don't know about a tallit?
I will share with you a piece of information which is very interesting, okay? You know, I showed you before the difference between a full size and a regular size, right? Now, when I put the regular, I want to show you something. You see the tallit, you see here is the tallit, okay? Now, this is the size of the Atara, okay? Here is the Atara. Now, you see the pinot, the knafot, it's the opposite side of the Atara. And the reason is that, you see, on this side you don't have, on this side you have a design for the knafot. Now, the reason it's because when I wear a tallit, a full-size tallit like this, and I flip it over, so the pina, which was the opposite side of the Atara, showed from the outside. Now, why I'm telling you this? Because if you take a mero tallit, you see like this, the other side of tallit, this is the Atara, and again, the pina, it's on the other side. Not here, it's here. But when I wear it like this, like I don't flip it over, you see the pina on the front, it's kind of opposite. It's supposed to be in order to show on the other side. But we make this one like this since we start to make a tallit. And we used to get phone calls from customer, I think you made my tallit wrong. There is a problem. The corner, it's on the opposite side. And then we thought, wait, why we make it on the small tallit on the opposite side? So we call the rabbi that supervises our factory and ask him if we can change the size. He said, there is not a problem with halacha. You can change the size if you want, but why? I told him, what do you mean? You explain me why the small tallit, the pinot is on the inside. So he said, because my grandfather used the tallit like this, and my grandfather used the tallit like this, and my father is the same. So this is how it's become. So something have no like logic, but it is what it is. So we make the tallit as it's been made for hundreds and hundreds of years.
So according to tradition and to the law, you make
yes,
that.
but like I was saying, there is not a problem to put the corner on the other side. It's still going to be kosher. It's still going to be according to the law. But it's going to be different than the tradition of our grandfathers.
Can you tell me about the corner? Why is that piece? It's like a double fabric, or it looks like it's standing out for a reason. Why is it like that?
It's like I said, it's like to show clear that this piece of fabric have 4 corners, because a kosher talit must have 4 corners. So these small corners that we put, it's to show, to emphasize that this piece of fabric have 4 corners, and it's called the knafot.
Okay.
I did not realize that. Thank you so much. That is really interesting, because the commandment is to put the reminders that tzitzit on the 4 corners of your garment. So that's really nice. Would you also speak about the significance of the Atara, why that must be there as well?
Again, you can have a kosher talit without the Atara. If you don't put the Atara, you don't need to make it's still going to be a kosher talit, because it's a piece of fabric that have 4 corners. It's kind of tradition, it's kind of design. In the traditional way talitot, on the Atara, there is the embroidery of the bracha. Like here, you see? The embroidery of the Atara. But for example, there is a few tradition that specifically don't have an Atara on the talit. Like talit Chabad, many of them don't have an Atara.
Thank you.
The Atara is to beautify the talit, basically. La'ator, it's basically an ornament to the talit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So should we open up the questions? There are some in the chat box.
Yes, there are some very good questions in the chat box. And I want to just start at the end. So a question from Barbara is, are talit just to be used, whoops, it just bounced, just to be used for prayer during the day, or can they also be worn at night?
I think they can be worn whenever one wants to wear a talit.
I don't think you go to.
Well, so my husband started mumbling a little bit. So there are people who wear what we call a talit katan, which means that they're wearing the tzitzit on their garments when they're dressed, right? So that's day and night. But there's I guess it's more of a tradition than law that you're supposed to be able to see the tzitzit to remember the commandments, which is why the tradition is to wear the talit during prayer during the day only. But in our modern world, we have light as often as we want. We can have it 24/7. So that is why wearing a talit in the evening is just as valid in these days.
Mm-hmm. Talit katan, it's like under the clothes, which you know, the Orthodox people wear the tzitzit with them all the time to show, like you said. And this talit, the prayer shal, you wear when you pray. It's a prayer shal, you wear it when you pray.
Thank you. Thank you. So a more practical question, or actually there were a few questions from Nancy with the same idea, which was, she wanted to know if the weaver's arms get tired and how they cope with repetitive motion with their right arm when doing their weaving in particular. Yeah,
like I said, it's a very, very physical work. Our weavers don't need to go to the gym. You can't like do it for too long of a shift. Usually, you know, they work for 4 or 5 hours, not more. It's very physical. It's very physical, and it's like exercise, like going to like doing spinning. All the muscles are working.
It's do you have repetitive stress specific to doing that? Sorry, I'm a physical therapist, so the interest for me is, do you have any people like wrist problems or finger problems with tendons?
No, not that we are aware of. No, we have usually
Not that.
people work with us for many years. I mean, they definitely in shape, but the movement they make, it's like not like not non-natural movement. You know, they're
Right.
just very strong arms and very fast with their legs.
Yeah, good.
Amazing.
Right.
Another question from Stephen Joan. They wanted to know, are the colors derived from plants or animals, or where do you, how do you create your dyes for the tallitot?
We don't dye the colors ourselves. We buy the thread. Usually like good wool arrive from Australia, you know, like and silk arrive, also depends on the season, from many different places in the world. But we buy the thread and then we create it. We don't dye it ourselves. If Eyal is showing you, see, these are our silk thread. You see?
Yes, one second, let me spotlight so we can see it more clearly. Ah, beautiful.
You see, this is how we get the thread with many different colors. And like I said, when we mixture, sometimes also we mixture like 3 or 4 different threads in order to create a tons of color.
Wow.
Let me show you also something beautiful when we talk about the thread. Eyal, can you show the thread machine that make the boat? This is really fascinating, because what Eyal is going to show you now, this is a machine that it's 120 years old.
Oh, wow.
120 years old. And this machine, it's what we use in order to make the boat that I showed you before, in order to make like a small portion of the thread. You see what Eyal is doing right now. And then after it's working, it's on a small conus. We put this conus inside the boat and we use it for the weaving. What's funny about the machine, this machine had a very complicated motor. And she got broken and nobody can fix it. And then this guy came in and he just like did like a bicep for everything, and just by very simple, you know, like electricity, he cancel all the massive motors and make like a very small and modern motors. You see, this is the final result of the small conus that going into the boat and then go to the loom in order to get woven into the ship.
Wow. Amazing. Another question that came up that's somewhat related, Nancy also wanted to know, are there a certain number of threads or other characteristics that you need to be able to make the fabric of the tallit?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Certain numbers of what?
You talked about, you know, the threads being together. Are there a certain number that you need in order to make the right dimension of thread?
You're talking about the tzitzit?
No.
No, I wasn't, but that is a good question also, because the tzitzit are specific. There's a specific rule about what they have to be. The question had more to do with the shawl itself. If there was a certain thickness of thread that you needed, and if you needed to put any threads together to make that right thickness from the spools that you get.
Okay, so what we use? So we use different material. We use the silk, which is very thin thread. We use the cotton, which is also pretty thin thread, and we use the wool, which is a little bit thicker, and we can work with very delicate fabric that if machine will try to create a fabric with it, they were probably gonna turn out. But because we do it like in this technique, in the hand weaving, we can handle a very, very thin and delicate a thread in order to create our fabric. And if someone like heavy material, it's like the one I'm wearing right now, it's a wool. So you can choose the wool one. If someone wants something lighter and softer, we have the cotton. Someone wants something very elegant and very, very thin, we have the silk. So we work with the different threads.
Very nice. Can you also talk a moment about the tzitzit and the threads that the way that the threads have to be to make up a tzitzit?
Yes, I can talk, but I'm not an expert in this. Like I said, we send our tallitot for outsourcing to yeshiva buchers to tie the tzitzit. So I know what I learned during the years, that if you count the number of the detailing, you see, I'm trying to show it here, of the detailing of the tightness, you get the number of 613, which is like the number of the mitzvot.
So I actually can help explain that a little bit also. There are a few ways of looking
Please.
at that. Some of them have to do with so there have to be 6 threads together in each of the specific threads. But I learned it this way, which I think is kind of fun. And if you haven't heard this before, I share this with you for fun. But we have 8. When you look at the number of strings, there are 8 for the tallit, for the tzitzit, and there are 5 knots. So you have the 5 knots and the 8 strings, which is 13, and the gematria for the word tzitzit is 600. So 613 become your 613 mitzvot in Torah. Another part of the adding together of the numbers.
Yeah.
Another question that came up, which is kind of interesting, is somebody wanted to know if the looms are designed, if they're exactly the same for everyone, or are they only designed so that you need to be right-handed? Is it a possibility that looms are designed for left-handed people?
Yeah, you can, that's not a problem to design it for left-handed or right-handed. And our looms, it's not something you go and buy. Our looms are created, like hand built it by my grandfather. So if we have a problem in the loom, we have to fix it, ourselves. There is not a profession like this anymore. It's not like you can't go to Home Depot and buy parts. But yes, you can actually custom it to the weavers. You can change the angle, you can change the sides, you can actually fit it to the weaver itself.
That's wonderful.
Do you have someone that will follow your grandfather?
Listen, I tell you honestly, I want my kids to choose what they want to do in their life. If the business is going to still be around and they choose to be part of it, ahlan usalan. But it's not something I'm going to push, and I want them to choose their own way in life,
Yeah. No, I understand, but God forbid your grandfather dies, and you need to adjust and know.
My grandfather is not alive anymore.
Okay.
A long time ago, and
Okay.
we it's like very old-fashioned engineering, like anyone that have like a good approach for machinery, it's like as simple as it gets. So this is how we fix things, and this is how we build new parts. Sometimes it's challenge. Like I will share with you like a very big challenge we had in our weaving studio in the past few years. the textile industry in Israel used to be very, very big industry, like in the States. But in the past years, you know, since all the manufacturing go to the Far East, okay, the textile industry went smaller and smaller and smaller, like all over the world, you know. And you saw the machine I showed you before, the big machine that we used to make the shetty, the big conus that get on top of the loom. So we didn't used to have this machine in our studio. We used to send our conus to different factories that they gave service for textile industry, and they used to put the thread for us together and brought it back to the studio and they put it on top of the loom. And slowly, during the years, we had less option where to send our shetty to. And 2 years ago, they closed the last business that did it. And we had to deal with the situation that either we get a machine like this, which is a very, very expensive machine, and you know, like, but this is a must for our operation. So we had to buy a machine like this, which is huge, and we had to put aside 3 looms. We had more looms in the studio, but because we needed place for this big machine, we had to put aside 3 looms, and we had to bring this machine and to learn how to operate it in our studio in order to be independent and not, you know, to look all the time where to send our shetty to.
Wow. Wow. Talking about the looms, Uni has a question asking if we could and zoom in back onto the into the production area, and to see how the boat passes the main row of the threads, maybe from above. So just see how the weaving process happens. I'm going to take the spotlight off of you so we could see it a little bit bigger.
Here, you see? Going from side to side like this.
You need to lift the camera.
אייל, תעשה מלמעלה יותר. You see?
They go so fast. It's
yeah, they must go fast. Yeah,
absolutely.
Is there any way to look underneath to see the petals, or is it too cramped?
Absolutely. Here.
Wow.
Wow. It's kind of like playing an organ.
Yeah.
with the foot pedals and the keyboard on top.
You go from outside to inside, inside to left to right, right to left to spread the.
Right, because
Yes.
they have to switch positions,
Yes,
otherwise you don't
right.
get the weave.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
You can put some grapes underneath, and she
Make
can
wine.
She can make wine at the same time.
So Ori, do you sell your tallit in Europe as well?
Yeah, but not as much as we do sell in United States. We sell in France and in England, and you know, today the world is a small village. So, you know, online we get orders also from Ghana and from, you know, like places you never heard about. We will be happy to sell anyone.
All right.
So another question is, how do the weavers get trained?
Okay, so this is a long training. Like I said, most of the people who work with us for many years, okay? In order to train a weaver to be good enough in order to make a quality tallit, it's a matter of 2 years maybe to train a good weaver. it's a long training, and they learn from each other. You know, if someone like want to learn to be a weaver, he get into the studio, and for 2 years he's training and training until he's able to create a tallit.
Do you have men weavers or it's only women?
Today, only women. We used in the long past to have a guy, but now we have only women.
Wow. So Trina, I'm gonna I'm putting you back on Spotlight to turn this back over to you. I don't know that there are any additional questions, but this was so fascinating. And thank you so much, Ori, and your workshop, Eyal, and everyone for this really interesting tour and information session. The Gabrieli Tallit is at least in America, I know, is just known. When I was studying in cantorial school in Jerusalem, my classmates and I made pilgrimages to your shop on a very regular basis, saving up the money for just the one that we wanted to buy. All of us came home with ours. And any of you who wonder which tallit I wear on the high holy days, it's my Gabrieli. But they're so famous worldwide, it seems, and let's get a little insight into how all of this is made, and to learn that each one is an individual handcrafted piece of art is mind-blowing. So thank you so much for that. It was so appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Ori and I'll thank you again, like Regina said, for inviting us to your studio, sharing this beautiful craft and the history of weaving tallitot. The designs are spectacular. I saw some very, very beautiful items that I would like to have. So thank you again for welcoming us and sharing all this information.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So everyone here in Ann Arbor, Regina's going to share her screen for us, and we do have an offer through our gift shop, the Women of Temple Beth Emeth gift shop, that we are offering a 20% discount on a Gabrieli Tallit. If anyone is interested, you have to follow this particular link you see here. Regina, I think
I already put the link into the chat box for anyone who wants to click on it.
Thank you.
I hope that you get your email address and not mine in there, but it should work.
That's true. Sorry about that.
But the flyer also should be in our weekly e-blasts that we get on Thursdays and possibly also on Mondays, but definitely on Thursdays if you're interested. And it also has information on going to the website so that you can look at the designs a little bit more and get a more of a feeling of the products that would be available to you.
Right. And like Regina said, it will be coming out in the e-blast, but of course it'll be in the WTBE newsletter. It will be on the Temple Beth Emeth website as of tomorrow. And we should have a recording attached to it too, if anyone happened to miss the program or not be able to complete it or want to share, that will be available too. So you can go to their website and shop, but you have to order through us. And, I look forward to helping you. If you have any questions, we're happy to help. And we're really happy that we could bring all of this great information to you. I feel like I've really learned a lot today. So hopefully you all did as well. So I think we are done. Toda rabah to everyone for being with us. And I think the Gabrielis are gone now. So thanks to them again. Oh, no, I see you there. Thank you very much for being with us again. And
thank you guys. Thank you very much. Hope to see all of you in Israel next time.
Oh,
Okay.
We would love that. We'll stop by.
Look forward to it. We will try to stop by when we're there this summer.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
comes-
Well, everybody, thank you very much.
Okay, take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Bye-bye.
joining. Bye now.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.